Apenyomakin's opposition to calls for reparation. It may be recalled that Alexander Apenyomakin earlier on the floor of Parliament argued that it was unfair to demand reparation, and he noted that some locals were indeed involved in the transatlantic.
My people, British Nigerian politician Kemi Badenoch says Britain shouldn't pay for slavery because, get this, Britain ended it. Yes.
Most times it's so difficult to phantom some of those people, especially Kemi Badenoch. This lady has been on the nerves of a lot of people, even our fellow Nigerians, because there was a time she said something about Nigerians in the UK, Ghanaians in the UK, getting citizenship in the UK, and a lot of things. So right now she has come out to talk about the slavery, the reparation that the president of Ghana got for all Africans. She said Britain shouldn't and would not in any way give this reparation to any African, that because Britain ended it. But let's take a look at the video to hear what the finance minister Samuel Ekuzato has to say to her, because this man literally schooled her. The finance minister in Ghana literally schooled her and put her in a place. I want you guys to watch this video from the beginning to the end, because you have to understand where this video is going to, and comment below, like the video and share.
My people, British Nigerian politician Kemi Badenoch says Britain shouldn't pay for slavery because, get this, Britain ended it. Yes, you can't make this up. In a post on X, she criticized Britain for abstaining instead of voting against the UN resolution officially recognizing slavery as the gravest crime against humanity. In her own words, Britain should have unequivocally voted no because, quote, it led the fight to end slavery and shouldn't pay for a crime that it helped eradicate. And that raises a very serious question. What history books has Kemi been reading? Because she doesn't even know the history of where she herself was born. You see, Kemi was born in Wimbledon. Quiet, wealthy, prestigious, home of tennis, right? But Wimbledon holds a much deeper story, because right there in Wimbledon stood one of the most powerful homes in England, the old rectory, and it belonged to a man named William Cecil, the top advisor to Elizabeth I. Now here's what they did. Cecil personally persuaded the Queen to fund England's first slave trading voyage. The ship was called the Jesus of Lubeck and was captained by John Hawkins, one of the first Englishmen to profit from the transatlantic slave trade. And together, the Crown and its top officials funded Britain's very first slave trading expeditions in the 1560s, right from Kemi's own backyard. Now, this is part of a broader rhetoric where Kemi says that it's dangerous to suggest that Britain became wealthy through exploitation and colonialism.
If people genuinely believe that the UK only grew and developed into an advanced economy because of exploitation and oppression, then the solutions they will devise will make our growth and productivity problem even worse. Some of my counterparts spend the entire time in meetings talking about colonialism, blame the West for their economic difficulties, and make demands that would make all of us, not just in this country, but around the world, poorer.
So let me ask her one simple question. Where did the cotton, the sugar, the tobacco that built Britain's wealth actually come from? And how was it produced? Now, this isn't the first time that Kemi has made controversial comments about her own race and heritage.
I've renewed my Nigerian passport since the early 2000s. I don't identify with it anymore. Most of my life has been in the UK.
She has consistently taken positions that distance her from that reality. And at some point, you have to ask, is she really okay? So my people, what do you make of what she said? Is it ignorance, misinformation, attention seeking, or something far more dangerous? And what do we do when leaders try to intentionally rewrite history to serve their own interests? Let's talk in the comments and watch my full breakdown of this story on Genius TV.
What the Conservative leader has said, Kemi Badenoch, that's her opinion, that is clearly not supported by the fact. If you think about the historical fact, which cannot be contested, that slave masters were compensated in the UK. And taxpayers, she's concerned about taxpayers. She was not concerned about taxpayers paying the slave owners who were compensated because slavery was abolished. And taxpayers, UK taxpayers, have been paying until 2015. The amount of money they've been paying, £20 million at the time. Estimates say that at today's value is in excess of £2 billion. And UK taxpayers have been burdened with that. They've paid the slave masters, can you believe that? Just for losing the slaves because slavery has been abolished. But the slaves themselves and their descendants were never compensated. And she doesn't appear concerned about that. That is really, really unfortunate. Really regrettable and unconscionable, I must say. And I do hope that she'll take a second look at her history notes and change her views on this matter.
Ghana has expressed its bewilderment at the notion that the leader of the opposition party of the United Kingdom, Kemi Badenoch, somebody whose parents are Nigerians, and the stance that she has taken, she said that the United Kingdom should not pay reparations for slavery, and because she said that this is being funded by taxpayers, they were baffled by the fact that she seemed to be okay with the notion that the United Kingdom actually paid the slave owners, and this payment continued well into the 2000s, and she had no problems with taxpayers paying the slave owners for the loss of their slaves. But she doesn't think that people of Africa do not deserve, or not people of Africa, obviously black Africans, wherever they are. Some of them are in the Caribbean, they're in Brazil, they are in America, but she doesn't think that they deserve to get reparations. But it seems that, as Ghana said, that she is okay with slave owners getting their payments, but not the actual slaves. And actually, the Ghanaian minister actually suggested that she goes back to look into her history books. That's what they said.
Yesterday, I covered a press conference by the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, on the United Nations adoption of Ghana-led resolution on reparation and the declaration of the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity. At the conference, I asked him two questions. First, his reaction to Minority Leader Alexander Apenyomakin's opposition to calls for reparation. It may be recalled that Alexander Apenyomakin earlier on the floor of Parliament argued that it was unfair to demand reparation, and he noted that some locals were indeed involved in the transatlantic slave trade. So I sought from the Foreign Affairs Minister what his reaction would be, and this was his response.
I will have only one message for the minority leader in Ghana. He should pay a friendly visit to the former president of Ghana, leader of his party, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who has been a strong advocate for reparatory justice. Former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, educate him on reparatory justice. I think
some of the countries actually expected to be the biggest compensators that do not have an affirmative position on the resolution, and the UK abstained while the USA voted no outrightly. So I sought from the Foreign Affairs Minister whether this could affect their thinking into actionalizing this adopted resolution, and I cited claims by the head of the Conservative Party of the UK's Parliament, Kemi Badenoch, who argued that it was indeed unfair for modern population to atone for historical sins. Kemi also indicated that a reparation by the UK could burden taxpayers, and that even though UK were the perpetrators of the transatlantic slave trade, they also pushed for it, and so it was indeed unfair to demand reparation from them. And this was Ablakwa's response to Kemi Badenoch.
About what the Conservative leader has said, Kemi Badenoch, that's her opinion that is clearly not supported by fact. If you think about the historical fact, which cannot be contested, that slave masters were compensated in the UK, and taxpayers, she's concerned about taxpayers. She was not concerned about taxpayers paying the slave owners who were compensated because slavery was abolished. She doesn't appear concerned about that. That is really, really unfortunate, really regrettable and unconscionable, I must say. And I do hope that she'll take a second look at her history notes.
Those are my questions to the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa. What do you make of them, and do his responses cut it?
I'm super excited that the Foreign Affairs Minister of Ghana, Samuel Okudzeto, had to put her in her place. Samuel Okudzeto, the Foreign Affairs Minister, had to send her to school to go back to Ghana. If she doesn't know the history of where she came from in Nigeria, let her go back to Ghana and learn about the history. Because for her to say that Britain does not have to pay a dime because the Britain stopped it, forgetting the history, she doesn't know anything. This is the same lady that has been on the nerves of a lot of immigrants in UK. She has been bringing up different rules and regulations, trying to make everything so difficult for our fellow African brothers and sisters in the UK. So how do you think she can be able to know things about Africans? She's a Nigerian. She knows nothing about her homeland, her home country, Nigeria. Even though she has lived in UK for the rest of her life, she doesn't even know the history of the UK that she has been living in. So guys, let me know what you think about in the comment section about this particular video of Kemi Badenoch saying things about the slave reparation and how Ghana has, helped a lot of Africans. Let's hear your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like the video and share.